Is it possible to truly change the trajectory of someone's life after they've committed a crime? Can we, as a society, move beyond mere punishment and actually help individuals find a path away from reoffending? This is a question at the heart of our justice system, and it's one that often leads us to consider the role of psychology in rehabilitation. Welcome. Today, we're going to explore one of the most talked about approaches in criminal justice rehabilitation, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. You might have heard of CBT in the context of managing anxiety or depression, but its application in the justice system is a fascinating and complex story. Our goal isn't just to understand what CBT is, but to ask the vital question: what actually reduces reoffending? What works? What are the challenges? And where do we go from here? We'll unpack the evidence, delve into the debates, and look at what it truly takes to make a lasting difference. At its core, CBT programs for offenders are built on a powerful idea that criminal thinking isn't an inherent flaw, but rather a learned cognitive deficit. Think of it like a habit of thinking that has gone awry. Just as we can learn new habits, we can also learn new ways of thinking. These programs are designed to help individuals recognize the specific thought patterns and choices that often precede criminal behavior. The ultimate goal is to develop new cognitive skills and, importantly, to restructure distorted thinking that has led them down problematic paths. Let's break down some of the foundational concepts. First, we have what psychologists call cognitive deficits and distortions. This simply means that maladaptive behaviors, including criminal acts, are often believed to stem from irrational thought patterns, beliefs, and attitudes. We're talking about things like poor problem-solving skills, a lack of empathy, impulsivity, or an overly self-centered view of the world. A central tenet of CBT is the interconnectedness of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Imagine a three-legged stool, where each leg supports the others. If you change one leg, say a thought, it will inevitably impact the others, your emotions, and subsequently your actions. This framework empowers individuals by showing them they can alter their emotional responses and actions by challenging and changing problematic thoughts. Another crucial aspect is personal responsibility and accountability. These programs guide participants to truly take responsibility for their actions, moving away from blame or rationalization. This isn't about shaming, but about empowering individuals to see their role and capacity for change. And finally, there's skill building and restructuring. Interventions focus on teaching new cognitive and social skills, everything from how to communicate effectively to managing anger, while actively working to reshape those distorted thinking patterns to promote pro-social responses. To give you a better idea, some of the key elements found in these programs include cognitive skills training, anger management, moral development, victim empathy, and a vital component called relapse prevention, which helps individuals identify and prepare for high-risk situations upon release. You might hear of specific programs like moral recognition therapy or reasoning and rehabilitation, which are prominent examples. These interventions are delivered in various settings, from correctional facilities to community-based environments, and adapted for both adults and young people. Pioneers like Aaron T. Beck, Kenneth Robinson, and Robert Ross laid much of the groundwork, and today researchers like Mark Lipsey continue to provide vital insights through comprehensive meta-analyses. Government agencies on both sides of the Atlantic are instrumental in developing, researching, and implementing these programs across the justice system.
Now, for the big question, how effective are they? For a long time, the picture has been quite positive. Meta-analyses, which combine the results of many studies, frequently report a statistically significant reduction in reoffending. We often hear figures like a 23–28% reduction in general and violent reoffending, or a 25% overall reduction compared to control groups who didn't receive the intervention. Some highly optimized programs even suggest the potential for much larger impacts, with estimates reaching up to a 52% decrease under ideal conditions. Beyond reducing reoffending, these programs are also generally considered cost-effective. Estimates suggest substantial returns on investment, for example, $6.31 saved for every $1 spent, through avoided criminal justice and healthcare costs. It's a win-win, right? Furthermore, CBT appears most effective for high-risk offenders, and it has shown effectiveness across various offense types, including general, violent, sexual, and substance-related crimes. The message has been clear: when implemented well, CBT can be a powerful tool for positive change. Key implementation factors for success often include higher quality and fidelity of delivery, meaning the program is delivered exactly as designed, more sessions, more treatment hours, adequate staff training, and close monitoring. However, despite this strong evidence base, the story of CBT in criminal justice isn't without its complexities and controversies. There's an ongoing debate about whether the impressive effects found in rigorous research studies can be consistently achieved under the often challenging circumstances of real-world correctional settings. A significant point of contention comes from a major 2021 Lancet Psychiatry meta-analysis. This particular review was very strict, limiting its scope only to randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, delivered during incarceration. And what did they find? Surprisingly, this review reported no statistically significant effect of CBT programs on recidivism, estimating the effect to be almost zero. This finding stands in sharp contrast to many other reviews that use broader methodologies and report positive outcomes. It leaves us with a puzzling discrepancy. Why such different conclusions? Part of the answer might lie in what we call implementation challenges. Even the best recipe won't turn out if the chef isn't trained or if the ingredients are missing. Fidelity and quality. The effectiveness of CBT is highly dependent on how well it's delivered. If staff aren't adequately trained or aren't delivering the program as intended, the results suffer. Dosage and duration. Programs with higher intensity and longer duration tend to be more effective, but correctional settings often face constraints that limit how many sessions can be offered or for how long. Attrition rates. Not everyone completes the program. While some research suggests completion status might not always significantly impact reoffending, other studies indicate that those who do complete CBT are less likely to reoffend. Certain demographic groups can also have lower completion rates. Heterogeneity of programs. The sheer number of diverse CBT forms out there, not all adhering strictly to empirically supported constructs, can create confusion and make it difficult to define what CBT actually means, potentially impacting overall efficacy.
Then there are the contextual factors. While CBT generally appears effective across various demographics, one study in Georgia suggested that a specific program, reasoning and rehabilitation, was less effective for non-white participants. This highlights the need for cultural sensitivity and tailored approaches. Furthermore, prison-based CBT may be less effective unless it's closely integrated with ongoing community support upon release. Imagine learning new coping skills in prison, only to be released into an environment without stable housing, employment, or continued support. Mental health treatment alone often can't address these critical needs. Residential programs also struggle with generalizing behavioral changes if the external environments that individuals return to aren't addressed. Beyond the practicalities, CBT in criminal justice also sparks some profound ethical and philosophical questions. Mandatory versus voluntary participation. For inmates, participation is often mandatory, perhaps as a condition for parole or release. This raises questions about genuine engagement. Can therapy truly be effective if someone is forced to attend? Medicalization of social problems. Critics argue that by focusing heavily on individual mental health interventions like CBT, we might be medicalizing criminal behavior. This perspective suggests we could be diverting attention from broader social or systemic issues, like poverty, lack of education, or systemic discrimination, that significantly contribute to crime. Individual versus systemic issues. There's a constant tension between CBT's strong emphasis on individual accountability and the potential neglect of these wider societal factors. While personal responsibility is vital, ignoring systemic injustices would be short-sighted. Intervention versus incarceration. Finally, there's the ongoing discussion about CBT's role in potentially diverting offenders from incarceration. This option is compelling, but it underscores the need for high standards of accountability and intensive, well-delivered services in such programs if they are to truly be an alternative to traditional punishment. So, where do we go from here? The future of CBT programs in reducing reoffending will undoubtedly focus on addressing these very controversies and challenges to maximize their impact. First, we need to resolve the discrepancies in research findings, particularly the debate sparked by RCTs conducted in carceral settings. This isn't about choosing a side, but understanding why different methodologies yield different results, and what that tells us about effectiveness in varied contexts. Second, there's a critical need for enhanced efforts to ensure high fidelity and quality of program delivery in real-world correctional and community environments. This means robust staff training, adequate program dosage, and consistent delivery. We need to bridge the gap between what works in a carefully controlled study and what happens day to day.
Third, further research into demographic effectiveness and, crucially, the integration of prison-based CBT with comprehensive community support systems will be vital. What good is a new set of skills if the individual is released into an unstable environment? Housing, employment, and continued social support are not just add-ons, they are essential components of successful reintegration. And finally, an ongoing dialogue will be necessary to navigate the ethical considerations surrounding mandatory participation and to strike a better balance between individual accountability and a nuanced understanding of systemic factors contributing to criminal behavior. We must continue to ask tough questions and ensure our interventions are not just effective, but also ethical and equitable. The continued focus on cost effectiveness will also drive efforts to optimize program design and implementation for greater societal benefit.
CBT programs are undeniably a powerful tool in the arsenal of criminal justice rehabilitation. They offer a hopeful path, demonstrating that by addressing the way people think, we can help them make different choices. But their effectiveness is not a given. It's a testament to careful implementation, robust support systems, and a willingness to confront difficult questions. Understanding what actually reduces reoffending requires us to look beyond simple solutions and embrace the full complexity of human behavior and societal influence. It's a journey that demands continued research, critical thinking, and above all, a commitment to genuine transformation.